Hello, I'm Jeremiah, and today I'll be covering Minecarts and Mochas. Minecarts and Mochas is about to do a crowd sale, so if this interests you, check it out. The link is in the description. In Minecarts and Mochas, you are the dungeon janitor, which means this week you are serving coffee to the goblins and cider to the gnomes. To do that, you're going to be placing cards out, making sure that goblins are always connected to a cafe and gnomes are always connected to a cider stand. So that's the overview of Minecarts Mochas. Let's set up. Start. Just give the deck a quick shuffle, flipping some cards over as you go. Today I'm going to be playing with the challenge mode, but there's also a chill mode if you just want that. So, take that, place the deck off to the side, and place the first card into the dungeon. Then, well, that's set up. On your turn, you're going to draw a card and place it. To place it, the card has to be touching a path on a previous card, but they can be off a bit, as long as a little bit of the path is still touching. So, if you can see like that, the path is still touching there, but there it wouldn't be anymore. But usually you'll just place it so they're fully matching. So once you placed it, you'll draw the next card and keep going. But what are you trying to do? What you're trying to do is that some of these cards are going to have cafe stands for the goblins, which once you have them there, you're going to want to get as many goblins touching on the card or touching the card as possible. So, let's see. Here we have a line of gnomes. And so if we find a cafe here's a cider stand. So, this cider stand has 2 gnomes at it. And then you look at all surrounding cards. And if they have a gnome on that card, then that gnome counts as is connected to this in line. So these 2 gnomes are in line, and this one is. Then you keep going out from there. So this one is adjacent to an inline gnome, so he's considered in line. And this one is also adjacent to an inline gnome, so he's in line. But if it was like this, he's no longer in line. So he's going to cost us negative points at the end of the game. And it's the same for the goblins. And they'll just also be in line but they have to be for their own one. Additionally, we're going to be looking for these mice. And we don't want them near our cider stands or our, whatever they're called, cafes. Because it's going to cost us negative 3 points per mouse that is adjacent or on one of these stands. But we do have cats, which will help us counteract that. But cats will only give us 2 points, so it's best to just avoid mice altogether. Other than that, there's a couple more rules I'll get into as we start playing. So, that was how we play. Now let's do a playthrough. Let's set that in the corner. Okay, so we'll take the first card to start our dungeon, which this guy has a cider stand. So we'll take our next card, and this has a cat on it. It does have 2 gnomes on the other side, so we might want to try to flip it using gems later on. So I'll just put it right there. We'll kind of put it at the edge of the map, since it doesn't look like we'll be going up that way much longer. So we'll draw our next card. This one has a mushroom. So the special rule for mushrooms in challenge mode is that, if possible, you have to place them adjacent to each other. So once we place this one, as long as these 2 exits are still open, and when we draw another mushroom card, we're going to place it there instead of wherever we want. So we kind of want to, we'll put it like that. Okay, then we're going to draw our next card. And okay, so we're going to put it like this. One other rule is that the cards cannot overlap each other. So I couldn't go like that. That would definitely not be allowed. But something like that would also not be allowed. Also, you can't have not doorways, entrances to different cards be haphazard. They have to be fully vertical or horizontal. So with that, let's place this gnome adjacent to the cider stand so we can get some points for him. Now, okay, so this one has a gnome, so we could attach it here, but it's going to kind of end our pathway of them because this has a door which stops all inline ones. So like, if we do it like this gnome wouldn't actually be in line because there's a door stopping them from getting there. But it does have 2 gems, so we would be able to flip 2 cards. So let's think. What we want to do is, I think we actually want to place the gnome over here, which, so like here's what I was talking about, is you can overlap these as long as you don't overlap the tunnel, but for the Minecarts Mochas game specifically, it's generally discouraged. So we are going to put this guy over there. There we go. Okay. So we can use the gems later to flip this card and not that one, but maybe some other cards. So for our next card, it has some mushrooms on it, so we have to place it adjacent to a mushroom card if possible. So unfortunately we have to just place it there. Hopefully we don't need any cards that go that need to attach up there. Okay, so we drew another card. This one has a griffin on it, which griffins like cider stands, so they have to be directly attached to it if possible. So unfortunately we gotta do this and attach it there. So right now our cider stand only has a line going this way, so we're going to want to keep building them that way, like with this card. So we'll just drop that one right there. That's pretty good. I'm actually going to shift this over a bit so that we can have a bit more space. So I'm going to draw another card. Okay, it has a goblin and a gnome, so it's not the best. We'll keep it going though, and we'll start it going down this way, I think. Okay, and look, 2 more. This is not a cider stand though. A cider stand has a barrel and a table, and a goblin one has a like a barista thing. I'll point out when we see one. So we'll put it there so it's still in line. Okay, we got a monster, which doesn't do anything in this game, but in the other Paperbag Dungeon games, it does, which you can mix and match these with those for different types of games. So I'm just going to put this card up there, kind of going into nowhere. Okay, so we got another gnome, so we're going to put him like that. So we can just kind of keep snaking it down. We've got our first goblin. Okay. Actually, let's look at that. That's a goblin. Cool. Okay. So, let's see. It almost fits there, but not really. So, we're going to just block that road off and start. No, because I'm not going to be able to connect anything there. So, I'm going to place it here. So I guess I have to shift it backwards. I'm going to move the deck out of view. We're going to shift this over so that we have enough space. Which all we need, and so in the game, All we gotta do is get 1 point, which is harder than it looks. Okay, so let's grab our next card, which is another goblin. One thing about goblins, though, is that if you ever flip a goblin, you have to flip all other goblins. So you gotta be careful with them. So let's do that. Then before we draw our next card, let's actually use these 2 gems on this card. To use them, we'll flip it. And then we have to, because there's 2 gems on that card, we have to flip 2 other cards. A card can only flip once per turn, though. So like, if we flip this one in, and then flipped all the other goblins, we couldn't then flip. So like, if we flip this one, flipping it would flip all our goblins, just like that. We then couldn't flip that one back, if that makes sense. So let's see. We want to flip this one because while there is a cat there, there's 2 gnomes, which will make it a lot better. We actually, no. Now that I think about it, each gnome gives you 1 point, but a cat will give you 2. So it's actually equal. And because there's a goblin, this will actually be negative. So we won't flip that one. And there isn't really any other cards we want to flip yet, so never mind. We will not use that gem. So I would just lose those points. Okay, so now for the next turn, got another cider stand. So we can kind of place it there, almost again. Just not enough. Okay. Where do we want to place this? Let's place it there, but then it cuts off our goblins. So we will just place it. Oh, sorry. We don't have a choice. There's some mushrooms on it, so it has to go up here. So let me shift the board down so that we can see that it goes up there. So, well, that makes our decision for us, I guess. But that's not a cider stand that we can send guys to. And if we flip it, there's actually a goblin stand right there. So our next card is another gnome. So, or there's a cider goblin stand there. We'll actually stick it there so that we can use a gem to flip it. So what we're gonna do is, because this gnome stand has a gem on it, we're gonna use that gem, flipping it, so there's now a goblin on it, to flip this card too, so that we now have a goblin stand in for all these cards, which is good. So actually, no, we didn't want to flip this one. We'll leave that like that. We wanted to flip this one instead, so that we can get rid of this gnome, because this gnome isn't at any stand. So we'll flip that. Then we have to flip 2 other cards. So we'd flip that one for 1, and not that one. Oh, actually, yes, we will flip this one. We'll flip this one for 2. So this gnome's now in line 2. Okay. So now we only have 2 cards left. Oh, don't want to peek. So once these have been placed, the game will end. I can put this back up in the corner. Here's our second to last card. And we can see that the last card is another goblin. So we will stick it right here. It's another stand, which is nice. Then for our last card, we will have this goblin. But we don't really want it next to them because it has 2 mice. That's going to be -6 points. Otherwise, it's -2 points. So I guess we're just going to have to put him off to the side here by himself, unfortunately, because we don't want those mice. But we've now played out all the cards, so let's score. To start, we'll score 1 point for every goblin in line. So we'll start here. We have 2 goblins on a cafe, a third one on this cafe. And this goblin is adjacent to this cafe, so that's a 4th point. This goblin is adjacent to a goblin that's in line, so that's 5 points for the goblins. Then we'll look at the gnomes. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 for the gnomes, 5 for the goblins, which means 16 points to start with, which is pretty good. All we gotta do is score 1. So we're doing pretty good. But now we start losing points. We're gonna lose 2 points per goblin that is in there and per gnome. So we have 1 goblin, which is in line here, and 1 goblin over there. But I think that's all. So that's negative 4 points. So that takes us down to 12. Then we'll look at mice. Looking at mice that are on a cafe or on a stand card or adjacent. So we'll look at this one. None there and none there. Good. None there, or none there. Okay. Here we have 1. None on these ones, and then a second one there. So that's 2 so far. Then there's no other cafe, there's no other stands. So, because of those 2, that'll end up being negative 6 points, which means that it takes us from 12 down to 6. And then we'll then add 2 points for every cat that's on or adjacent a stand. So look at this stand, none, none. This one, none. This one has 1 cat adjacent to it. So with this cat adjacent to the cafe, that'll score us 2 points. And if we keep looking, this stand has 2 cats adjacent to it. So that'll give us 4 more points, taking us back up to 6 and ending with 12 points. So yeah, that's how you play Minecarts Mochas. Thank you for watching, and thank you to Dustin for letting me cover the game. If the game seems interesting, please check out Minecarts Mochas on the Game Crafter, where it will be on sale starting Monday the 16th. The link is in the description if you want to check it out. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, and see you next week. Bye.